The turning of the year in medieval Europe was not a moment of fireworks, loud laughter, or hopeful resolutions. It was a threshold, heavy with fear, watched closely by people who believed the future could be cursed by the smallest misstep. To begin the year the wrong way was not just unlucky, it was dangerous. The calendar did not promise fresh beginnings, but warned of hidden forces waiting to punish carelessness. In cold stone houses and candlelit halls, people welcomed the new year with anxious hearts, convinced that what happened in its first hours would echo through every season that followed. Medieval life was fragile. A bad harvest could mean starvation, a cough could become a death sentence, and war or plague could arrive without warning. In such a world, people searched desperately for patterns and signs, and the new year became a powerful symbol. Time itself was believed to be alive, listening, watching, remembering. The opening moments of the year were thought to set its character, like the first stroke of a bell determining its tone. To laugh at the wrong moment, to speak an ill word, or to let misfortune cross the doorstep first could doom the months ahead. One of the darkest fears was beginning the year in debt, hunger, or sorrow. Many believed that if you entered the new year poor, you would remain poor until it ended. This belief pushed families to perform desperate acts in late December, borrowing food they could not afford or settling small debts even if it meant hardship later. It was not uncommon for peasants to share their last bread on New Year's Eve, believing that generosity would invite abundance, while selfishness would call down scarcity. The first day of the year with an empty table was considered a silent curse. Silence itself carried meaning. In some regions, the first words spoken in the new year were thought to shape its spirit. Harsh language, complaints, or talk of death were strictly avoided. Complaints, or talk of death were strictly avoided. A careless mention of illness or loss could invite those very things to take root. This belief made the early hours of the year tense and quiet, filled with carefully chosen blessings and prayers. Children were warned not to cry, and peace had to be performed, even if it was not truly felt. The identity of the first visitor to cross a home's threshold after the new year began was another powerful concern. Known in later folklore as first footing, this belief already carried dark weight in medieval times. A stranger, a woman, or someone considered unlucky entering first could bring disaster. In some places, a red-haired person was feared, believed to carry the mark of betrayal or misfortune. Families would quietly arrange for a favored person to step inside first, sometimes even rehearsing the moment just to protect themselves from fate's unpredictable hand. Animals were not exempt from these fears. Livestock were watched closely, for their behavior on the first day of the year was believed to foretell prosperity or ruin. If a cow refused to eat or a horse stumbled, it could signal illness or death in the family. Farmers would go to great lengths to keep their animals calm and well-fed, whispering prayers into stables and sprinkling holy water to ward off evil spirits believed to roam freely at the year's turning. Sleep itself was treated with caution. Oversleeping on the first day of the year was thought to invite laziness and missed opportunities for months to come. Yet staying awake too long was equally risky, as exhaustion could weaken the body and spirit, leaving one vulnerable to illness. This contradiction reflects the anxiety of medieval belief. Balance was demanded, but the rules were unclear, and fear filled the gaps. People tried to rise early but gently, as if not to startle the year into anger. Dreams on New Year's Eve were believed to be prophetic, carrying messages from God, saints, or darker forces. A bad dream could be terrifying, interpreted as a warning of death, betrayal, or famine. Some people attempted to control their dreams through prayer or fasting, while others feared sleep entirely, staying awake to avoid visions they might not understand. The mind, half resting and half awake, became another place where the future could betray itself too soon. Food rituals were deeply tied to fear of beginning the year wrongly. Certain foods were avoided because of their symbolic meanings. In some regions, eating poultry was discouraged, as birds scratched backward, suggesting regression or loss. Fish, which swam freely, might be welcomed in one area and shunned in another, depending on local tradition. What mattered was not nourishment, but symbolism. Eating the wrong thing was believed to teach the year to behave badly. Spilled salt, broken dishes, or extinguished candles were all taken as dreadful omens if they occurred at the year's start. These accidents, trivial on any other day, became signs of chaos breaking through order. Salt, precious and symbolic of preservation, was especially feared. To spill it on the first day of the year could mean decay, betrayal, or death. People moved slowly and carefully, hands trembling slightly, aware that one careless motion might curse the months ahead. Religion intensified these fears rather than easing them. While Christianity promised salvation, it also emphasized sin, judgment, and divine punishment. The new year was seen as another page in the book God was writing about each soul. To begin it in sin, anger, or neglect of prayer was to invite divine displeasure. Churches filled with people seeking protection, confessing old sins before the calendar turned, hoping to cleanse themselves before time began anew. Yet even prayer carried risk. Improper prayers, spoken incorrectly or at the wrong time, were feared to anger God or attract demons. Latin phrases were memorized carefully, often without understanding, because mistakes were believed to have consequences. The spiritual world was close, listening intently, and the new year was when it listened most closely of all. There was also a fear of beginnings themselves. Medieval people often believed that the world was slowly decaying, moving further from divine perfection with each passing year. A new year was not a clean slate, but another step toward the end of days. Apocalyptic beliefs were common, and some truly feared that any year might be the last. Starting it wrong might hasten the final judgment, not just for an individual, but for all humanity. Children absorbed these fears early. Stories were told by the fire about families ruined because they laughed too loudly at the year's start or forgot to say a blessing. These tales were not meant to entertain, but to instruct through fear. Memory became a form of protection, and tradition was followed not because it was joyful, but because breaking it felt dangerous. Even joy was monitored. Excessive celebration was believed to tempt the devil, who was thought to roam freely during liminal times, especially at the turn of the year. Dancing too wildly, drinking too much, or indulging in desire could invite misfortune. Pleasure was permitted only within strict boundaries, carefully watched by both neighbors and conscience. Weather on the first day of the year was scrutinized intensely. A dark sky or sudden storm could signal divine anger. Clear skies might promise mercy. These observations were recorded in memory, and sometimes in writing, becoming part of local lore. People looked to the heavens for reassurance, but often found only more reasons to worry. What makes these beliefs truly dark is not their superstition alone, but the constant pressure they placed on ordinary people. The new year was not a hopeful pause, but a test. One misstep could mean suffering, and since life already offered so much pain, the fear of adding more was unbearable. Control over fate felt possible only through strict obedience to tradition. As centuries passed, many of these beliefs softened or transformed, but their shadows remain. Even today, people speak of starting the year right, making resolutions, avoiding negativity, and seeking good luck. Beneath modern celebrations lies an ancient fear that time remembers. That beginnings matter more than endings, and that the future can be shaped or shattered by how it is welcomed. In the quiet medieval night, as the old year died and the new one took its first breath, people held their breath too. Candles flickered, prayers whispered, and hearts beat faster, not with excitement, but with dread. The year was listening, and everyone feared what it might hear.